So how does it make sense? Why would anyone do what they did to Saudi Arabia in Iran? This is the question that you're hearing, if you're hearing any talk about Iran and Saudi Arabia and us possibly responding. The Iranians, we said we were going to respond with Saudi Arabia. The Iranians said, bring it on, we're ready. Now, yesterday, the reason why we said we're locked and loaded is because Saudi Arabia presented evidence. Mike Pompeo flew last night. He got there this morning, and he met with the Saudis, and he looked at their evidence, shared it with the president, shared it with our intelligence members, and then he got on a plane and he flew to the United Arab Emirates. So something is going on. Saudi Arabia, we'll get an update here in just a minute. Saudi Arabia just did a press conference. It was all in Arabic, so we're having to have it translated. But they presented this evidence of how they know it came from Iran. Why would you do that? Because you're leaving it's a smoking gun. You would do it if you want war. Now, it baffles the people in the mainstream media and foreign policy experts and those who study geopolitics like it's an unsolvable math problem. But the experts and the academics that analyze these things are missing the point because they live in their egghead world. Saturday's attack on Saudi Arabia, it doesn't make sense if you live in that world. It doesn't make sense that the attacks were launched inside Iran. Because we were close. I mean, Donald Trump was going to maybe go back and they're doing this. Why would they possibly do that? Well, it doesn't fit the geopolitical equation. And yes, there is an equation. How many times have you heard foreign leaders say, we're going to reset with, Russia or whoever. We're going to reset. Really? Bush did that with Russia. Obama said that. Hillary did that. Trump did that. The inevitable truth is that some countries are not going to get along with us. Their interests are permanently and diametrically opposed to us. The experts know this, but politicians always promise the opposite. And usually politicians are lying, and everybody knows that. But we seem to think that we think in the West like the Iranian mullahs. If you thought ISIS was the first modern-day terror group to create a full-fledged nation state, you're wrong. It's happened before. And the caliphate is something that people have been dreaming of for a very long time because in their book of Revelation, if you will, in their end times story, they have one too. And it ends differently than ours. In fact, it is the exact opposite of the book of Revelation. And the people have been trying to bring this along for a long time. And they've been trying to develop this caliphate. In 1979, terrorists in Iran seized power and committed perhaps the largest robbery in history. It was the theft of an entire country. The leader was the Ayatollah Khomeini. He was influenced by the founders of modern-day Islamic terrorism. He translated all of the works of the former Muslim Brotherhood leadership into Persian. The radical Islamic scholars that influenced him are the same scholars that influenced Osama bin Laden. Now, here are some of Khomeini's favorite pastimes. Listening to broadcasts from the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem. Well, why is that a problem? Because the Grand Mufti wasn't broadcasting from Jerusalem. He was speaking from a radio tower in Gießen, Germany. Hitler and the Nazis had the Mufti, who had fled to Germany for asylum. He was preaching anti-Jewish and jihadist propaganda directly to the Muslims living in the Middle East. And Khomeini was an avid listener. Now, this is the man that created modern-day Iran. Now, here's the thing. The Ayatollah Khomeini said, okay, there's one sect that we have to rule out. They're Shias, yes, but they're so damn crazy. The guy who was spoon-fed Nazi propaganda and then regurgitated it. The guy who is listening to that every day, he said there's one group of people that are too crazy and we have to abolish this sect. We can never allow them to be in the government. And those are the Shia Twelvers that believe that the 12th Imam fell down in a well, has been hiding in that well until the end times come. Now, that seems absolutely nuts to you and me. It doesn't matter. Do they believe it? Do they believe it? This is the way the country of Iran operates. They have a clerical regime that runs Iran. This clerical. It's a bunch of people that are on the Assembly of Experts. Oh, that sounds very, very socialist, doesn't it? There's 80 of them in total, and they're all Islamic scholars, and they all have religious credentials that match the founders of the Islamic regime, except they're Twelvers. Yes, they are Shias, but they are also Twelvers. They believe in the end times, and their job is to hasten the return of the Promised One. They're radicals beyond anything the world has ever seen. They never challenge or criticize the Ayatollah. And the Ayatollah is exactly what the name is meant to say. It's the absolute supreme leader. There's no questioning. He controls everything. He controls the military to the elite Republican Guard. He is the elected president is under his direct supervision, the supreme leader. He is solely responsible for directing the economy, the president. He has no control over the military, no control of the Republican Guard. Yes, the president is elected by the people, but only after he's vetted and approved by the supreme leader. If someone becomes the president of Iran, he's not a moderate. Hey, Ben Rhodes, not a moderate. Rouhani, no, he was approved by the supreme leader. Rouhani was one of the 6 candidates that was personally approved to run for president. They narrowed it down a little bit. They took it from 700 candidates to 6. This is who's running the show over there. And their nuclear program began under Rouhani. This is the guy who's currently the president. He was their National Security Council head between 1989 and 2003. So he's the guy who started the nuclear program. Again, I'd just like to point out to Ben Rhodes, not a moderate. But I don't think he's the one who ordered this hit. I think it's actually the mullahs that hit this, that went for this hit. And here's why. If you're a 12er and you believe in the 12th Imam, the mullahs have been telling the people that they are in touch with the 12th Imam. I don't know how, but they're in touch with the 12th Imam. And the 12th Imam is coming back soon and is directing them. Now, the way to hasten his return is to wash the world in blood and vaporize Jerusalem and or Israel. Well, you need a bomb. If Rouhani is actually thinking about meeting with Donald Trump, the clerics don't want that. The clerics want to wash the world in blood. So what is better than absolute and total chaos? If and when anyone strikes Iran, they will respond. And they're not going to respond in conventional ways. The good news is the people are with us. I mean, I don't know if they believe we only have 12 years to live because of climate change. But I don't think the average person on the street, in fact, I know they don't believe that the 12th Imam is on his way here and all will bow or they will lose their heads.